All right, now we got it figured out. All right, so as you can tell, programming is going to be a little weird this week. This is the week that the bass drops from the mountains, and it is celebration, not quite all that kind of stuff. But we figured out, since it was a bit of an international window, that we would come up to the mountains and have our weekly time up here, me and the boss. So programming's going to be a little weird. All right, full disclosure, here we go. All right, today, well, it's not my computer. First time since it was rebooted that I've had to figure out how to do things in a new environment. So that's done. So now that that's up and running, today will be a normal show. And all week long, we're going to have all of our high school content. We'll catch up with all our high school friends from the week and from the season past, and we'll catch up with all of them and get ready for all of that. So you'll have a lot of high school content this week, in addition to the normal stuff that we do, our USL content, MLS Next Pro content, all that. So that's normal. Tomorrow is going to be it's going to be different. So let me bring in Jarrett here, and greetings from the mountains.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's the first time I've had to do anything where StreamYard was complaining, and of course having to do it up here in Blue Ridge this week. But tomorrow's going to be an afternoon drive show. Time TBA, because last night I was invited to be in a golf tournament. So I'm going to do a golf tournament tomorrow morning. Wednesday's normal. Thursday's normal. Friday, since that's the day that they kick us out of the cabin, show's going to be on at 8 o'clock. So 8 to 10, we'll finish up with our friends from Beyond Goals, instead of having go in the middle with Beyond Goals. So Weekend Whip Around will start at 8, and that'll be after the U.S. match on Thursday night. And might be a busy week for Bart while we're talking about it. So Bart's now officially on notice. So then there you go with that, and out at 10, and there you go. So that's your week that will be when it comes to everything going on here at SDH. But it's in the mountains, and I've got to work on my lighting. I was not anticipating it looking like this, but turned on every light here in the downstairs part in the game room, and I got to turn on probably 2 or 3 more. But wanted to get on with the show this morning. So morning, Jarrett.
Morning, John.
What is in the 10 minutes that I was late this morning? Anything?
No. Berlusconi is not unlike Ronald Reagan, still dead.
No. Yes, and Generalissimo Francisco Franco. Exactly.
Yeah, well.
So we got that, and I figured that Nick will want to come on at some point and discuss Berlusconi and the impact that's going to have on Serie A, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to be discussed with that this morning. So obviously, and I've got to find the drop, and it'll be added to the stacks. Atlanta United, big 3-1 win over DC United. And I know that when Tyler Wolff scored, I know that there were a lot of us that were hoping for a particular moment and catchphrase, and we got it. And for those of us of a certain vintage or of a certain age or of a certain geography, when you can ask for the Wolf Man, you're going to get the Wolf Man. It's just about gallery furniture up in Gainesville, up north of the city of Atlanta. For those of you that watched wrestling in the 80s and watched high-numbered television before cable.
There was one on the south side, too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah, that is true. So we got that going on as well, and it was a fun moment to where now we're stuck with it, where every time Tyler Wolff does something from this moment forward, we have to ask for the Wolf Man. And I'm looking forward to that going forward. So looking forward to Tyler Wolff. But it was good stuff that came on board with Tyler win. Yorgos Giacomakis continues to be the man. And Andrew Gutman, goal and an assist, and it was good to catch up with him for our star of the match afterwards down there on the turf. And it was a well-rounded effort all around. I figured it was going to be 3-1. I figured it was going to come different ways. But, Jarrett, now that you've had 36 hours still.
Well, I mean, one takeaway you want from that is the fact that Tyler Miller had a bad day.
Oh, brother. Oh, man.
You should have known it was going to be weird when they took the opening kickoff and Tyler Miller was basically playing like defensive holding midfield. If you go back and look at the opening kickoff of the game, Tyler Miller was basically playing as a 6 and then just booted it down like a game of kickball.
I mean, it's out there, and Tyler Miller enjoys his wanderlust, and as it turns out, it came to bite him, but it only took 14 minutes for him to it was very, very, once again, not a surprise, but Tyler Miller got burned. And the one thing that is interesting in all of this, and I made the comment at halftime when I was doing the highlights, is the idea that bowl with your Giacomakis. I really don't. That was one of the tightest angles that you could ever come up with, and he navigated it with just the right amount of touch with the right hand, or with the right boot. Just as soon as he got past Tyler Miller, he kind of hopped him, and then just the amount of spin that was attached in a very, very tight angle. Well done from Giacomakis.
It was not dissimilar from, if you remember 2017, Joseph hit one against Chicago in the second home game.
Mm-hmm.
That being one of those games that you just was really weird because Chicago, Atlanta got an own goal through Gressel's work, and then Chicago gets somebody sent off in like the 10th minute.
Yeah.
And Atlanta ends up winning that game like 3-0. I think LGP completed more passes in that game than Chicago attempted. It was something absurd. But Joseph converts one in that game, one of his 2 goals, from an absurdly tight angle. I think it was a tighter angle than Yorgos did,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't as far away. So, that's the first thing that enters my head when I see it the other day is, well, that kind of reminds me of Joseph in 2017. It's not as tight of an angle, but it's way the hell out there. And he just passes it in like it ain't no thing. And honestly, with enough pace to get it there, but not enough pace so as to destroy the hope of the back line as they are sprinting back. Although I do want to clarify, because we were picking fun of the Tyler Miller had a bad game. He did. But that being said, he didn't do anything that wasn't expected. Wayne Rooney's talked about it before. He said, look, Miller's going to get chipped at some point. He's going to have weird things happen to him. That they want him to play like this. He's not out there freelancing. That's part of the game plan. They've got a weird little setup going on, and he's going to be a sweeper keeper. He's going to run a lot. He is going to cover a lot of ground. And he's going to take risks like that. So it's not like Tyler Miller is just freelancing on his own outside of the wishes of the team. Like that's
right.
Just part of their game plan.
Yeah, that's part of his shtick, and so that's you see that. Don't be surprised, and that was one of the things that you sit there and it's like, oh, Tyler Miller, he's like out here, and he's still out here even after the fact. So it was there, for those that kind of see what's up, not necessarily a shock. But and sure enough, that was one of those times when you got burned, and it was 1-0 just like that. And then I know that a lot of folks will sit there and it's like, okay, it's 1-0, and then DC United will have their moment, and it ends up tying things up at 1, and if you want to look at it, the bounce gets just right. The bounce gets absolutely just correct, and it ends up in a moment of transition all the way down, working your way, and it gets up in the back of the net, and then it's 1-1, and then you're sitting there, and that's how it is at the break, and you're going. Now, I know that there were probably a decent amount of folks who were, fists raised to the sky and all that kind of stuff. So that's where it was at the break at 1-1, and then second half, you end up with. I know that a lot of folks will sit there and they'll stare at it and go, "Okay, that's the Atlanta United that I was looking for," and you got that with the Gutman goal going short side, and it looked to me like Tyler Miller was just leaning the wrong way, and
Yeah, he's anticipating the cross, and he commits. It's it's kind of like this kind of reminds me of the Mighty Ducks movies where Charlie Conway is defending, and you want the attacker to make the first move in those
yes,
situations because
yes,
he commits really quickly to cutting out the cross because the cross was there. Like he could have played. I think it was Wolf on the no, not Wolf.
that was the third one,
Yorgos would have been on the backside of that cross,
right?
and you do have to account for that. Yorgos is quickly creating an obscene amount of positional gravity wherever he is. He draws eyes, he draws motion, and he steps out to do that, leaves that open, and whether Andrew was going to shoot the whole time or not, he puts it past Miller's hand, and Miller tries to kind of cover two sides at once, like
Right,
he's
yeah.
got that hand lingering back, but from that distance, and Gutman put his foot through it. Even if he
Yeah,
gets a
he
hand
did.
to it,
He
I
did.
don't know if he keeps it. I don't know if he keeps it out unless it catches his hand completely flush, like on the wrist. I don't know if he would have been able to keep it out just because of the pace on it and the way his body was going the other way. It had just been a lot on his arm to try and hold it back. But it's I mean it's yeah, he commits to trying to stop the cross. And he doesn't. The end.
Mm-hmm. That made it 2. And you caught me. You caught me this morning with my first batch of caffeine, and then that made it 2. And then you could tell. I mean, you could tell that with Atlanta and depth and momentum and all these kinds of things, that it was. You could tell that another one was coming, and you end up with a goal on the board with Tyler Wolf. Tyler Wolf continues to impress, and we'll get into all the other players and things like that coming up in just a little bit. But the cross that Tyler Miller thought he might have been playing for goal number 2, Andrew Gutman gives to Tyler Wolf for goal number 3. And there are things to get into with this as well, where you end up at so you end up with Gonzalo Pineda getting a yellow card in the discussion over goal number 3. And then you end up with it going to review, and the goal sticks. And I, and like I said, I mean, I could be naive in these kinds of situations, but if a coach, and like I said, it's just you give a yellow to a coach for whatever reason, whatever he said, and then what you end up doing is having an initial goal call reversed. I mean, am I wrong in thinking that, if it was related to the conversation where a goal is reversed, then, I don't know, maybe you could sit there and say, okay, let's just say that the event never happened, and wave off the card on the coach. But I don't think you could probably do it when it
It
comes
depends on
to
what he said.
true. Yeah, and that's true.
I mean, because like if he's complaining about the offside in that situation, that's fine. If he says a magic word, you're not gonna like
True.
going to VAR does not undo any magic words.
Yeah, that's true. And so you end up with Gonzalo getting a card, Wolf getting a goal on the board, and Jarrett. It's a point that we've made here a lot when it comes to the younger players that have come up from Atlanta United 2, and they've worked their way up and through, and all of a sudden, everybody else gets to see what you, Jason, Nick, and I have been looking at. And, for those that get to go and see, twos matches, you get what we've seen. We've seen these players grow, and we see them in these moments. So Tyler Wolff, once again, not intimidated by his surroundings. He's got himself, he's got himself a point to prove. And, you end up with Tyler and a Johnny Fortune, at least in this most recent example from the weekend. Players coming up from the twos and ending up performing well on the first team, not intimidated by their surroundings. Tyler Wolff gets a goal, and a Johnny Fortune gets a start. Gets a start out of this. So, I mean, it's once again another situation where Atlanta United 2 continues to have your development for your first team players working your way up and around. So, Johnny Fortune gets a start, does really, he's solid in the start. Tyler Wolff comes off the bench, gets another goal. So once again, the twos continue to do their work when they're called up to the first team.
Yeah, he does. Look, I was especially impressed with what AJ gave you.
Yes.
Or Jay, I believe now he requested Jay.
So see, now this is what we got.
No, I believe that was the post game request. So now Jay Fortune, there you go.
All right. Okay.
That was the post game request. So
Okay.
yeah, Jay Fortune gave you what you need. He's a bit more up and down vertical, like not up and down performance wise, but he's a bit more north south in the way he's going to do things. But he's been taking these steps in the last year or so, and I think he's really taken a lot of them. There was competition in that position with the second team in the past. Will Riley really came on strong in his time before he went to Stanford, which I believe he started a majority of the games for Stanford, and Riley might be one to watch for a homegrown or a second team deal after he's done at Stanford. Just depends on how much. Like I think his athleticism is something you have to watch for to see if he can pick up the pace on.
Yeah, and so you keep an eye on that.
But you still had Brendan Lamb, who was really, really good and looked like looked like he still does have a really high ceiling. The Johnny Fortune kind of wins the Thunderdome there with the second team, and I know Jack Collison was a big fan of his and spoke highly of him. And I think all these guys benefited from having a guy like Robbie Mertz, having guys like Chris Allen, who were veterans who could step in and be part of that midfield for some of the younger guys. And there you start seeing the payoff, because now you're starting to 6-7 years in to seeing a lot of turns through the academy. Some of these guys who were really young when they started coming through the system full bore. Cool. You have a Tyler Wolff who looks like he's figured it out.
Yeah.
And there will be ups and downs, but he's showing you a lot, to the point that I think you have to start him. I think he's earned it. But a Johnny Fortune, not afraid of the moment. I think that Johnny Fortune is one that you look real hard at as being either a starter or a long-term depth piece, depending on how you want to address that midfield.
Yeah.
You have Luke Brennan coming, who is Luke Brennan needs to figure out. I think he needs to figure out finishing.
Yeah.
With the second team, but the rest of it, dude. Luke Brennan's clicking right now. You got guys who are able. Noah Cobb is coming down the pipeline at center back, and I think if you had a year like last year where you were ravaged with injuries, you'd have been seeing Noah Cobb by now. But right now you've been healthier, so you to haven't needed him to be that guy yet. But there's still a lot of growth to see from these guys.
Yes. And by the way, I know that this morning is technology phone tag when it comes to tracking me down because and it's little things trying to it's like, okay, hit a knob here, hit a button here, hit a button here. Yes, and good morning, Will. And so Will, yeah, since we're talking, yes, Will is trying to steer the conversation to Jack Collison and MLS Next Pro, by the way, and Huntsville knocking off all caps SC2 I think it was last night, as a part of the busy Sunday in MLS Next Pro. So it's and I think that, and I'm more than happy to take the conversation where it goes this morning. Bam is already fired up about Houston getting blown out, and there's news kind of there, so we can start at the top of the ladder with that. Yeah, the Jonathan Bolaños goal right off kickoff for Hunt City on their way to getting a win, but you end up with a 3-1 win for Atlanta United. And like I said, we'll get into what everybody wants to talk about in Twitch or on YouTube or whatever. So I routed us to YouTube by Rich. It was, and honestly, Rich, it was by mistake because in trying to set up the camera and set up the output this morning, I think I clicked the YouTube button by accident. So instead of it being on Twitch, it got routed to the YouTube channel. So that's where I am this morning. Recap once again. I'm in the mountains this week. So I look out to my right and I see green and hills and a lot of them. So this week, once again, it is normal this morning. And like I said, I apologize for rerouting technology and screwing things up. So it's normal this morning. Tomorrow is going to be a drive time show afternoon because I was invited to play in a golf tournament with our friends at Fannin County High School. And so I'm going to go play Old Toccoa Farm and make an idiot out of myself on Tuesday. Wednesday is Friday. We start at 8 a.m. And because they kick us out of the cabin at 10. So literally, I'm going right up to the point to where I get kicked out of the cabin. Knicks, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what. Well, let me do this. Open debate. I did this by accident. Let me know what you prefer, YouTube or Twitch. You guys, Twitter, Ben, this was by accident. So tomorrow it's probably back to Twitch, but it's thanks to everybody who's been a part of everything on Twitch. And so, like I said, I think this was just a happy accident, and I'm glad that you guys found us this morning. Okay, so Will's liking Twitch. So I'll try to figure out how to reroute it back to Twitch tomorrow. But like I said, this was just accident and trying to get everything back up and running because the computer wouldn't recognize me initially when I plugged in all my technology. So that's where we are with all that. So it'll be as normal a week as possible if I can figure out technology between here and there. So I don't know if I can route it to both, Bam. I think I can only do one or the other. So we'll go back to Twitch tomorrow if I can figure out how to route it properly. But so there you go. That's the week, and obviously we'll have all of our programming that's up and running and all that kind of stuff. But now we're talking Atlanta United in the 3-1 win with DC United, and now Atlanta United gets 11 days to see things out, and we're at the halfway point of the season. So also stuff to put in your caps for the week. We'll probably do some midweek award stuff this week as well. So keep an eye on that. MVP, most surprising, most shocking, all those kinds of things. So get your mid-season awards all squared away, and then the next time that we come together, we can do and talk about that. What else stuck out to you, Jarrett, from the win with Atlanta United as we're now at the halfway point of the season?
Um, Honestly, just the way they responded in the second half, because we went over this before. Let's do some maths real quick. Some Big Shack quick maths.
Okay.
So let's do Google Maps. Let's do Atlanta, Georgia,
Okay.
and we're going to travel to. Nope.
We're traveling.
We are traveling to Los Angeles, Louisiana, Los Angeles, California. Sorry, the other LA, not Louisiana.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Atlanta to LA. On the road, which is damn near as the crow flies, about 2,000 miles.
Correct.
They flew 2,000 miles, played a very rough, defensive, very offensively stagnated game against LAFC. One where they stole a point, damn near stole 3 at the end.
Correct.
But Brad Guzan stole a point for you.
Yes.
Then you go 2,000 miles back the other direction.
Correct.
And you play a DC team that's tricky to play. They'd had a lot of excuses to run out of gas at the end of that game, and they didn't. So I give them a lot of credit, because I think you have to dig down deep in those situations. And that's what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's finding that extra gear. Yorgi Shakamakis is turning into a topic of conversation in the chat this morning. And the funny thing is, Rich is asking if he could be suspended or injured for the Union match.
Who, Yorgos?
Yes. Can Yorgos Shakamakis be suspended for Atlanta United and the Philadelphia Union?
Okay, so here's the thing about Yorgos. And I saw a lot of people, especially people who have very negative opinions on Pineda already, getting mad at him about Yorgos getting suspended for the next game. This, whether they meant to or not, and I don't want to judge their intent, they kind of galaxy brained that situation. And Yorgos kind of galaxy brained that situation. Now, what I mean by that is Giacomakis is about to go on international duty. He is about to go play for Greece in Euro qualifiers. He's already not going to play in the next game for the club, which is
NYC on the 24th.
NYC, because he gets back on the 19th. He's probably going. These are World Cup qualifiers coming up. He's probably going to play a lot.
I'll save an idea, but go ahead and talk.
He is probably going to play a lot for them for Greece. So, because of that, he's already one yellow card away from a suspension. So after Steve Birnbaum's been throwing cheap shots at him all night, and he had been. Birnbaum had been throwing a couple cheap blows at him.
Absolutely.
Yorgos decides, whether he meant to or not, you know what? I'm not going to play against NYC anyway. Why don't I just treat the NYC game as my suspension? And he lines up Birnbaum. Like, he 100% lines him up and leaves him on a pile on the ground and then walks off, as he's getting subbed at that moment. But it kind of is whether they meant to or not, it kind of is a galaxy brain move, because now now he gets his 1-game suspension, but he wasn't going to play in that game anyway, because he plays on the 19th. He's probably traveling on the 20th to come back to the United States.
Right.
He's not going to have probably played 70 to 90 minutes. And then traveled from God knows where in Europe. I don't know Greece's schedule, so I don't know if it's at home or on the road.
Right.
And then play a day later against New York City. It's probably not going to happen. So it's kind of like the whole thing of, we're up. It's kind of like if you're in a Champions League qualifier, in a like round of 16 game.
Yeah.
Or in a group stage game. And let's say you're in the second to last group stage game. You've got the group locked up. You're going through. and you are already on a yellow card, so you just pick up another yellow card so that you're suspended for the last game of the group. It doesn't matter anyway. But that way, you don't risk picking up a yellow card in that game and missing a knockout round game. So
Right.
now you're serving your suspension. You're serving your suspension against NYC, and then I'm assuming he'll be fine. So he'll
Mm.
be Rich. You might get him at less than 90 minutes, but uh, you might get him at less than 90 minutes, but you're not gonna miss him entirely.
Yep. Bam
Atlanta's going to
says,
have some real questions to answer about the Gold Cup too, because
right.
look, Etienne's probably going to go play for Haiti.
Yep.
Um, there is a non-zero chance that Johnny Fortune gets called up for Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah.
especially if he keeps doing what he's been doing. There's a chance a Johnny Fortune goes to Trinidad and Tobago for the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
There's a chance uh, that you're going to also have to like dig into your winger pool even more, um, because you might have to play Luis and Wolf on the wings.
Right.
So I don't know, man. There's a lot to we can get to close. We can get closer to Gold Cup. We can unpack
Yeah.
that. There's a lot.
Yeah. Bam says that Gigi isn't Denny Bouanga, who lands at LAX and then goes straight to BMO Stadium to play, because Denny Bouanga's
No.
insane.
Well, yeah, Denny Bonga is insane. He also is the co-leader in goals this season in the league with GG,
Mm-hmm.
which GG's done it in like 800 minutes, which is just stupid. 10
Correct.
goals in like 800 minutes is comical.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of those stretches that Joseph would have.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
No. But and I mean, it's a recurring point, and I'll go back to Dujic. I'll go back to Dujic and Birnbaum and Gigi here for a second. We did the math on center F going into this match, and his foul calls are traditionally low 20s. I think he averages 22, 3 yellows, and I think he's had a couple of reds this year. But I was of a mind that Birnbaum should have picked up 2 yellows in quick succession, and this was before he got lined up. When you basically plow into the back of Gigi with a forearm to the back of the head, and nothing gets called, and then Birnbaum gets a call a couple of minutes later, frankly, for me, that should have been 2, and you're done. And, that for me, Birnbaum was doing some stuff that he should have been carded on a lot sooner than he was. And the fact that he got lined up, he had it coming. With everything that he had been, putting on his checklist all match long, up like that his dance card had been full, and this was someone sitting there saying, "Okay, Sadie Hawkins' time's over."
Well, it's the reason we talk about like when you call a game loose, if you're not communicating that to players and you're not talking to players, even if you're going to call it loose, just communicate with them, because if you don't, you end up with situations where you get vigilante justice,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. Where it's Birnbaum was, I think Birnbaum was frustrated. Like Gigi's a pain to play against because he's very smart, he's very quick, he's very clever with his movements.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to it, he's got kind of that peak Andre Drummond box out when Drummond was like pulling down like 15 boards a night
Right.
for Detroit. Like once he boxes you out for a ball, that's pretty much it. You have to foul him. But he's also just a horse of a human being. When you box him out, he is going to go through you if he has to, and he's a pain to play against. And yeah, it's going to lead to some physicality. It's going to lead to some high emotions.
And Will says, and he's got that Scottish League scrappiness.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you can find someone who came out of the Scottish League who can play with the ball at their feet, not a bad shout. Because if they can play with the ball at their feet and they can survive Scotland. Those are two separate things. But if you can find those people, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm
Yes.
about to lose. It sounds like we're about to lose one of them from Celtic. Rayo Hatate has allegedly been linked to Tottenham.
Yeah.
Which is not really what I want to see.
But come on, no. But come on now. I mean, you know that Ange was going to be chasing folks.
I know. Well, it's all. I'm also of the mind that if Ange is going to be chasing folks, you need to be back on the phone with Desmond Dermott, Peter Lowell, all the people at Celtic, and be like, hey, you got anybody else you want to send to America? Because again,
Yes.
the styles are not dissimilar from what Celtic does to what Atlanta wants to do. So
Yes.
because they're not dissimilar, yeah, go hunt.
Yep. And this is just another one of those opportunities for everyone in there to sit there and chase after the parts of the planet where they have found folks and continue chasing until the rest of the planet catches up with you.
J League next, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, yes, Will. He did. There was a tech uprising. Thank you for breaking this down. Now, this is, like I said, this is today. This was trying to get on the air quickly and having to turn your computer on and off for the first. It's a lot of things that you had this conflagration and combination of technological factors, and that's why we're here today. But no, and correct that yes, never know that the two of us will ever commingle. That is absolutely true. I mean, and this is once again, it's J League, it's K League, and it's and all of those other below the radar markets in Central and South America where you're chasing after folks. And so that's what you're staring at. Find those markets for you and find what works for you. And Ange has an idea of how he wants to play. The bigger question for me in all of this is, I mean, and this actually, come to think of it, Jarrett, this might actually fit the budget that Daniel Levy traditionally doesn't give his manager to go chase. I mean, you had Antonio Conte who wants to go chasing after high-priced folks. Ange, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, but you're going to be saving money allegedly on the managers. So, and it sounds like he wants to bring half of the staff from Glasgow. So, spend a little money on players, or sell one of your $100 million players.
Yes, that is absolutely true. I know we got folks who want to talk about Champions League. We've got that this morning. We've got
the fact that Megan Thee Stallion unfollowed Lukaku after Lukaku disappeared in the Champions League final.
Well, and it makes me wonder. If Megan Thee Stallion is following anybody in particular on Manchester City's roster now. Just saying.
Yeah.
We got Abby's asking about the chances that Tata ends up in Miami. Nix is saying it's 110%.
I'd say they're pretty good, but we're kind of in a lull now where you've had the rumor, and now you're just kind of waiting for the story to. Now you're just kind of waiting for the story to cross the finish line.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what
you're. When it happens.
Yeah. So I mean, remember. Right now, and this came out in the interview with Mundo Deportivo. He said out of the blocks that it's not official yet. There are still some things that have to be worked on. But his idea is that he wants to play in Miami. So there's still stuff that's got to be worked out. And once all of that gets worked on and worked out, then you end up with the idea of Tata Martino in Miami, possibly, probably. Just once again, as we roll through all this stuff, just be patient, follow your sourcing, your number ones, your type A's, not the dude that's got 196 followers who's saying stuff, even though they do occasionally break things. It is one of those things where it's okay, follow your tier ones, follow your A pluses, get it done. Ricky, we don't have to talk Champions League, you know. Well, yeah, we kind of do.
We can make it quick though, because it's
Mm-hmm.
it's the crowning achievement for
Yeah,
Pep
it
to
is.
get City across the line, to get
Yeah.
the treble in England,
Mm-hmm.
and to get City their big trophy that they wanted, that they bought and paid for with all the spending they did.
Yeah.
Um, and does he go for it again? Um,
You've got a 300,
because
what is it, a 300 million pound payday from winning the treble?
I
Two-thirds
don't
of it,
know.
I think, coming from, it's like 196 million pounds for winning Champions League. By
So
winning all three tournaments, by winning all three, you end up with a 300 million pound payday.
so lovely, fine, whatever. Um, the question is, does he do it again? Does he go for it again? Um, how long until he crosses the Atlantic?
2 years.
Because, well, yeah, maybe, but
He
if
said
only
in an
there was a
interview
if
that he was
only
going to
there was
honor
a
his contract.
if only there was a club or part of the Citigroup family that was an absolute tire fire right now on
Uh,
this side of the Atlantic.
True, but let me posit this, sir. Um, right now, because they are a tire fire. And by the way, the two tire fires in the New York area are the two uh, next teams for Atlanta United, as we're here in the second half of the schedule. Um, why would you, if you are a manager in the Premier League or any place else, why would you jump into a tire fire and with the current constraints that we have when it comes to player acquisition, why would I jump into a tire fire right now where I only have 3 DPs and have to basically sit there and resurrect everything about what's going on currently, in the the U12 pitch in the Bronx? Why would I jump now? Why would I jump now? Or why would I jump until rules are fixed? Thank you, probable Lionel Messi acquisition. Why not wait until that's done and that's on the board instead of jumping in sooner?
I mean, I don't know. Sorry, I got distracted looking at Miami's roster because of Jason's question about designated players for Miami. Because Gregory, you can probably buy down,
Yep.
um,
Campagna, they're looking to move possibly.
possibly. But I've also heard conflicting reports about that. That some
Right.
people saying they're looking to move him, some people saying they're looking to keep him. Pizarro, you would imagine you could buy out Pizarro
Yep.
or sell him for a loss to somebody,
Right.
just get him off the
Yeah.
books.
Yep.
Joseph, Joseph's listed as a designated player. I thought he was a TAM
I
player.
thought he was a TAM.
Campana is a young designated player. Like you can buy down one of these guys, sell the other one, and make room.
Right.
But yeah, it's you can I think you can find a way to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, but I mean, all right. So we have the current constraints involving Major League Soccer right now, and it is, you only have DPs and you only have X number of players that you can supplementals and all these kinds of things, and you're going, okay, all right, this is what I can play with. But
Yeah,
if I'm by comparison Pep Guardiola right now with Manchester City and the way that it looks like it's going to be another, like I said, it's going to be another 300 million in the coffers, chasing after the likes of Josko Vardiol, um, and all of that. You're probably going to lose Gundogan to Barcelona, But now you'd have another $300 million to sit there, and your total market value right now of the players at Manchester City, 1.05 billion euro. That's your market value of all of your players right now at Manchester City. By comparison, I'm going to check what our friends at Transfermarkt have to say. Total market value for both Inter Miami and Inter Miami 2, 36 million euro. Why would I jet for a team that's got a value of, say, 36 million euro if I'm, with Inter Miami, and then in New York City FC, who is, City Football Group, by comparison, right now they are at 50.5 if you buy Next Pro and NYC. So basically, you'd be 50.5 right now for NYCFC and 1.05 billion right now for Manchester City. I mean, I get the idea of challenges and things like that, but I would seriously wait until the roster rules are different. I would wait until the roster rules are different if I'm Pep Guardiola. Wait until Messi comes in, wait until the new rules of engagement are there. Then I would sit there and go, okay, here's, now I'll probably come in with my life at Central Park West and my $9 million condo. And yes, Messi is going to change the DP rules. Messi Pep wouldn't renew the contract. Wouldn't renew the contract. So, I mean, if I'm Pep Guardiola, he says, I think it was on CBS Sports, and it was in the post match where he says, I've got 2 more years left on my deal. Then I'll figure something else out. So that's what I'm thinking. And by then, I think that the rules of engagement will have changed. I think the rules of engagement will have changed when it comes to Major League Soccer. Thank you, Lionel Messi. Thank you, Inter Miami. Thank you, all of that. So that's what you're staring at with Inter Miami, and with the rules changing, hopefully, probably, possibly sooner rather than later, and then Pep Guardiola coming in to be a part of City Football Group. My guess is, so if he's got 2 more years left on his deal, 23, 24, 24, 25, takes the World Cup year off, and then if City Football Group wants to do something momentum-wise, then you keep your momentum, especially as you're moving into your new building. You're moving into Dylan Butler Estates. And then that's when Pep Guardiola shows up. I think when Dylan Butler Estates is ready, that's when you come in with Pep Guardiola. New building for NYC, all of this new promise, all of this stuff. That's when Pep Guardiola comes in. Pep Guardiola is there to help you usher in your new building. When it's built, that's when he shows up. So that's my gut as we talk this through. And I like when we workshop these kinds of things. So that's what I think is going to go down. I think that when Dylan Butler Estates is finally completed, that is when we get to see Pep Guardiola. Okay, since it is 10 o'clock, I'm going to read a truncated promo because I don't have my copy here with me in the mountains. Mind all of the music and stuff that we always traditionally do. I didn't even do an opening kickoff this morning. Man, I'm slipping. All right, so that goes there. That goes there. And this goes here. Provided it won't load. I think things are probably a little slower than the traditional, but there we go. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, it's a Lemonize service. For houses, apartments, and condos, they work with the realtors and property managers to make sure that the places that they have invested in have odor-free, clean, fresh air and can do it as best they can. Great green way of going about things. We like that. Be kind to the environment. They work with, it's a turnkey process, working with realtors and property managers to make sure that the issues are tackled as best they can be in a very short amount of time. When it comes to your friends at Lemonize, it's better than using your favorite masking agent, which is either underneath you in the cupboard or underneath you in the cupboard or above your sink. Because when you reach either underneath the sink or above you in the cupboard, I'll get it right sooner or later. You take that masking agent out, you spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because it just masks the odor, does not attack the problem. Brought to us by our friends at Lemonize Service. They do it better than your favorite masking agent. Offering results in 24 hours or less to get rid of all of the odors, to make sure that your place is as best as it can be. Go to the website. QR code not over my left shoulder because I left the sign in the mountain. ELIMINIZE.com is the website for a Lemonize service. But do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from, so they can help you with your issues. So full homework assignment. ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Lemonize.com /Atlanta, Lemonize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Monday. Sit there and you try. This is what happens when you only have one computer as opposed to three. Full disclosure. When I'm in the office at home, I've got three computers going. I've got the one that is straight ahead of me, and that's the one that's got the big camera attached to it, and I can sit there and monitor things. Then I have the one to my left, which is this computer traditionally, and that's laptop number one, and I can kind of monitor things on Twitch and such. And then I have laptop number two around the corner for any issues that needed to be put to bed in any kind of short order. If I have to watch something else, with the TV and monitors, and I got to figure out the TVs in this place too. So I'm down to my phone, and I'm down to a computer here in the mountains. Once again, reminder. And once again, thanks to everybody who has been playing visual medium phone tag this morning in trying to make sure that you guys are, following me and figuring out where I place things this morning. Like I said, I'll figure it out by tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a PM show, and Wednesday, Thursday, normal. Remember, Thursday it is Atlanta United 2, Columbus Crew 2. That one is on the network, and pregame show will be 15 minutes before kickoff, coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. Atlanta United 2, Columbus Crew 2 on Thursday, and then we have a home match at the Fraction on Sunday, and that's the 18th. And so Friday is the only really weird show. It's going to be on at 8 o'clock in the morning because they kick us out of the cabin at 10. And so Weekend Whip Around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, probably rather than later. Weekend Whip Around will start the show at 8 o'clock. And then, since it is the night after U.S. And their activity, like I said, this might be a busy week for Bart. Bart might be Wednesday, Friday. So Bart with his traditional 10:30 slot. Then Friday is a possible postmortem, discussing things. So we can whip around, discussing things beyond goals at 9:30, and then we're off the air at 10 because they kick us out of the cabin. So Tuesday's a PM show, afternoon drive. Wednesday, Thursday, normal. Tuesday, we'll have a lot of our high school content up, catching up with more of the championship coaches and the great stories from the season past. So soccer's in session off season. We had some really cool interviews this weekend, and I'll repost those links after the show. Caught up with our friends at Tift with Bobby Earls and keeper Mike Taylor. It's a great story with Mike as he is getting to advance his career, hopefully, in a gap year program in Spain at the ATLUTD Academy in Valencia. And so we caught up with his head coach, and Mike, it's a great story. Thanks to Mary Alexanders down at WSWG for alerting us to the story in the first place. And we got to kind of let the story breathe a little bit, catching up with Coach Earls and Mike, caught up with our friend Will Homskis at Lincoln County, and got his lowdown about how the sport is really growing. Football, and I mean American football, in a town like Lincolnton, one of the best classifications, very in the smaller classifications when it comes to small town high school football in the state of Georgia. And from there, they are now, over the last handful of years, Will has taken the girls program, and they've now made inroads in the playoffs. The boys program actually had their first home match, postseason home match ever in history. And so there's strides in Lincolnton. Very, very cool story there to catch up with him. Also caught up with Stephen Peterson, the head coach at Richmond Hill, who had a great run 7A boys this past year, and caught up with Matt Cheeves, a perennial championship program at Dalton, and caught up with Frank Zamora, the head coach at Johnson Gainesville. And so those 6 are in the barn right now, and I'll post the links after the show is over this morning. And we're going to catch up with our friends at Towns County, another great program. And the funny thing is, as it's evolving, it looks like I'm catching up with 3 girls programs in the same region that had a really tight region, really great stories. So catching up with all the champs and some great stories with soccer's in session off season as we go. Will wanted to make a point about the Nashville family and attached to Hunt City. Reminder, one of Nashville's drummers, Ben Coward, passed away in an accident, headed home from their match on Saturday night. Obviously, Will says keep them in your thoughts and prayers, obviously, yeah. And just make sure that that the Cowherds and the Nashville family is embraced by as much love as possible. And so obviously keep them in your thoughts and send them as much love as possible as we go. All right. Whatever's on the board this morning, once again, we talked about Atlanta United a lot in hour number 1. Since Bam brought it up, we'll go ahead and get into LAFC right now to start things off with the rest of Major League Soccer. And there's talk, and we'll get into the other elements of the match in and of itself. Steve Cherundolo was hot. They got blown out in Houston. It's the first match of a home and home. I figured that this would be a match where they rotated anyway. And, Bassi scored his 5th from the spot this year. Franco Escobar scored a goal for Houston against his old club. There's talk that Steve Cherundolo might be interviewed or pursued for the open head coach position for the USM&T. And so keep an eye on that as we go. But Cherundolo had a 31-word press conference. 31 words. Was not happy about what happened in the loss to Houston Dynamo. But as I said, I thought that I would have figured that this one would have been the one that frankly, you sit there and it's like, it's a home and home, 3rd match in a week, or you will have played 3 matches in a week. If you mention the Atlanta United match as your first marker, you get a match with Houston Dynamo on the weekend, away. Then you get a match with Houston Dynamo at home, and you end up with 3 matches in a week. I would have thought that this one would have been the throwaway match anyway. But Steve Cherundolo less than happy with what was going on with his club. Not happy. Said that nobody showed up. 31-word press conference. It wasn't even posted to social media. because of its brevity. That's how fired up he was about the match in and of itself. So here's your starting lineup. And like I said, and Bam, you can back me up on all this stuff. Quinones, Bassi, Baird, and Escobar. That's your 4 goals. So your lineup in this one for LAFC. All right, so here was your lineup, and it was first choice. It's first choice. McCarthy and net. Backline of Palacios, Chiellini, Maldonado, and Hollingshead. But I figure if Chiellini is starting, you're going to run at him all day anyway. Midfield, Duenas, Ilie, Sifu. Top, Belonga, Vela, Steep Buke. Yep. Franco Escobar scored on him. Yep. And Corey Baird. So that's your starting lineup. McCarthy, Palacios, Chiellini, Maldonado, Hollingshead, Sifu, Ilie, Duenas, Bouanga, Vela, Buke. That was your starting lineup. And according to Steve Cherundolo, nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. First choice lineup, fairly first choice lineup like that. And you get that, you get that as a part of what went down. You cannot be happy. Corey Baird scored in 27 minutes, by the way. All right, so here's your LA numbers. And I would have taken this into account also because, once again, you've got them at BMO Stadium midweek. Bam says he would have started Opoku or Bogusz over Buke. And Ricky says that Franco's goal would have been goal of the week if it wasn't for Zelarayán. So LAFC now, and so since they're playing in the midweek, we'll go over both teams. But we'll start with LAFC. Steep Butte played 45. Bogusz played 19. Bouanga played 84. Chiellini played a half. Sifu played a full match. Duenas played a full match. Gaines played 19, paired with Hollingshead. Maldonado played a full. Murillo, Opoku, 45 each. Palacios, Ilie, 90 each. Vela played 71 minutes. So Vela and Bogusz, and so Opoku, Bam thinks Opoku's missing the return leg because of international duty. So McCarthy, you could probably figure McCarthy's going to play. I wonder now what it's going to look like with this lineup, considering you had folks playing 45. You probably start Bogusz. Bam thinks Opoku got picked for Ghana's U23s in the then Houston, Steve Clark started. Sviatchenko and Ulfarsson combined for 90. Daniel Steres played 65. Ibrahim played 78. Ache played a full 90. Chase Gasper played 25. Mikhail played a full 90. Artur played 78. Kataskia played a full 90. Bartlow and Caicedo filled in the pieces on the switch. Quinones played 63. Escobar and Bassi played 90. Corey Baird played 27, paired with Quinones. So it will be interesting in the midweek to see how this lays out. But, yeah, your first choice laid an egg, and that is not what you wanted to do. If it was a different lineup, I would have, not necessarily have been surprised that Houston, but because of what they did with the lineup, they got slapped around pretty good. Like I said, now the talk is probably, maybe Cherundolo being discussed for the MNT. So we'll see what happens there. I know we talked a lot about Manchester City this morning. I wonder if Jack Grealish is still wearing his. Uniform. That will be interesting. Bam, in the words of the great Will Smith, dear USMNT, keep the name out of your blanking mouth. Okay. So, next, Thank you for the heads up on the YouTube. Um, if it was me, Will, if we talked about Yakamakis. If it was me, if it was me, and you were like really close to suspension, if you didn't get a card or anything like that, what I would have done is if I would have had Yakamaki's back in time for the NYCFC match, I'd have him on the game day roster and then like check him in like the 80th minute, 88th minute, 89th minute. Literally just check him in for a minute, have him play, and then have him duck back out. That's what I would have done. But no, if he was out on yellow card accumulation for NYC, I mean that is some forward thinking. That is really clocking it and making sure that you're just like, all right, bang. And I guess, and I know that we talk about officials and officiating a lot, and I know that a lot of times you feel like you're screaming into the void because of it. But I still think that even if we are screaming into the void, the fact that we don't just continue to let it happen. Because if you stop talking about it, then it's a level of acceptance. And I think that that's what we need to kind of stare at here is, the Peter Boyle thing from Network. Mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Continue to, Night Bam. Continue to sit there and discuss it because that way it's still in the conversation. It still gets you fed up. It still gets you mad. I think it's still just as important to continue talking about it, even if we know that there really is no upright solution other than and this is probably one of the things that we need to talk to to Bart about on Wednesday. How do we, and this goes back to the issue that we talked about last week, where we have all of these officials, and like I said, I mean, Emilio, until there's competition, I know we're dealing with a monopoly, but I think it's still important that we discuss a monopoly in the terms of dissatisfaction with it. And if we continue to discuss, then, like I said, even if we feel like we're screaming into a void, which we are, I think that if we continue to discuss it, you hope that if it's done in a manner where we're not just yelling our heads off and going, refs suck, refs suck, not having solutions and being constructive about it. I think there's a way to go about it so it can still be a part of the conversation and still sit there and have the onus on the official to want to improve instead of sitting there and going, okay, well, I'm in pro. It's almost like being in a union. It's like being in a union, like machinists or whatever. Pick your favorite. Uh, pick your favorite blue collar union from the Rust Belt, and having something along those lines, and going, okay, well, I can. You never know. And Emilio, to your point, what decision makers are listening, you never know. You never know. And I think that if you were to stop talking about it, then decision makers don't get word back. They don't get feedback. They don't get anything. They don't, because the world is a lot smaller now than it was before. And I think that, I think that what we're staring at here, like I said, keep talking about it. Like I said, I know it feels like you're screaming into a void and it's not going to improve. If you stop screaming, then it definitely won't improve. But I think that when, you had, and it was the point that Jarrett made in hour number one about Filip Dujic. If you don't call a lot of fouls, cool. Just let me know going in so I know where the line is. And we'll go from there. I mean, Dujic is at the low end of the scale, calling 22 on average, where you've got others who are more experienced calling 29, 30, or north of 30. And if you continue to talk it out, talk it through, and Amelia, to your point, you have to have, well, and it's owners and front office personnel. I think if you have front office personnel, CEOs, presidents, GMs who are engaged with those conversations with the league office, then I think it's better. Yeah, it's better to have these individuals, and that's part of this too. That if we're having this conversation, then they listen. They don't tell us they listen. But the more we talk about it and the more consistent we are in talking about it, the better chance you have for some of them to pick that information up and play it forward. If we don't talk about it, then they're not going to know. They're going to think everything's great when it's not. I mean, we talk about it with player personnel issues. No reason we can't talk about it the same way when it comes to things that are outside of the team purview. Should be a part of the conversation and continue to be so. Couple of notes as we get closer and closer to having squads named for Women's World Cup. Aitana Bonmati and Alexia Putellas in the Spain squad for the World Cup. Aitana was one of the three of 15 protected. Ariana and Batil never officially part of the 15 back. Alexia is never officially part of the 15 back after a 10-month injury layoff. Mape, Leon, Patri, the big absentees. Panos, Leon, Mapi, Patri, Claudia Pina, Wahhabi, Alexandri, Lucia Garcia, also not. Okay. Apparently, and Emilio continues, the only thing fans can do is cancel season tickets and not buy tickets. And then when the front office is asking why, we tell them officiating stinks. And that's not the word he used, but, the thing is, though, is that if you stop buying season tickets, that's a different cause and effect. If you tell the front office officiating stinks, the front offices have no, they have no direct correlation to the assignments themselves, and so it's separate lane of traffic when we're talking about officials. Apparently, Adidas is already selling Lionel Messi's Inter Miami jersey. It's from our friends at SI. Like I said, I literally just looked down and saw this. So yesterday, apparently, Adidas has started selling his stuff. Online users greeted with an image of Messi with the message, Bienvenido a Miami. Encouraged to celebrate the move with MLS's latest gear and accessories. Okay, so collection on the Adidas website commemorates Messi's move with the latest gear, accessories, including team signature pink and black jerseys. Men and women can purchase Inter Miami CF home and away jerseys for as low as $90 in adult sizes. The authentic jerseys cost $130 and $150 in men's sizes only. Currently, kid-sized jerseys are sold out online. Adidas always so. All right, so from $130 to $150, I don't think that includes personalization. So Adidas is very confident that the Messi deal is going to get done. And so what you've got in this already is Adidas working ahead of the curve, sitting there saying, okay, here's the deal. Here's your jerseys. Drop your $130 to $150 on it, personalization, shipping, all that kind of stuff. Adidas should be making an absolute killing. Should be making an absolute killing on all this stuff. Let's see. So any other thought? I'm going to back in the timeline and go over stuff that we've been talking about this morning that I haven't had the chance to address yet. Anything else on your mind? We'll go over what's going on in Major League Soccer, what happened on the weekend. Late night last night, Portland gets a 1-0 win with a goal in the first half. They were the late game last night. St. Louis and the Galaxy was part of yesterday as well. I do not know what it is about St. Louis, but St. Louis, somebody's living right. Somebody is living right. You get the goal from Joaquini that you did. You end up with a point at home. But once again, we talk about officials, the very, very Red Bullsian style that you see from St. Louis. And St. Louis gets the 1-1 draw with the LAG. And I'm fairly certain that the conversations in Los Angeles are continuing about the regular activity from our friends with Greg Vanney and his future, or lack thereof. So really interesting stuff there. Bam was giving us the updates. It was, I think, 2-0 in the U23s for Australia. Yeah, Nick's, absolutely, he got a freebie. Gigi got a freebie, but the thing is, like I said, it should not have gotten to that point with Birnbaum for me. Really should not have. Should not have gotten to that point with Birnbaum. And was ahead of that. And one of them was the cold cocking of Gigi in the back of the head. Should have been different. But absolutely. No, so Greece plays France in France. So he'd be coming back from basically Paris. Yeah, and as long as you don't run your mouth about it and pick up an additional 2-game suspension, Will's looking at you, Sergio Ramos. And we mentioned Denny Bouanga. Yeah, Denny Bouanga, and this is the other part about the goalless draw that I think folks may not necessarily we sit there and we look at the effort that Atlanta United put in defensively. Denny Bouanga's used to just crashing straight ahead and getting everything all squared away and getting the goal in the back of the net for LAFC. Denny Bouanga had to create. Miles kept Denny Bouanga thinking for a full 90 minutes. Couldn't do things the way that he normally does. So as a result, Bouanga had to figure out, okay, how else can I try to be a part of the creation activity? And sure enough, couldn't find a way. So Denny Bouanga is definitely going to be figuring out. He's got to figure out all these other things about how to figure out how to be creative. So it was interesting to see Atlanta United tie down one of the top teams in the Western Conference for a full 90 minutes. Ricky, since we didn't lose to LA, it was a 4-point week. Yeah. Didn't lose to LAFC, beat DC. Wonder if people will chill on Pineda for a bit. I know they won't. You're probably true. So, yeah. And Abby, it's great to see you guys at the tailgate too. It's always fun to catch up with you guys at the Gulch. I'll go ahead and, the fact that we do and Abby, thank you for helping wrangle Norbert, by the way, for the Inside the APs. Joe will be back on the 21st. Joe had to be a best man at a wedding. So got to do the stuff in the team store, got to do the stuff with the supporters group. And so it was good to catch up with everybody over at All Stripes and to see what was going on over there, and then be back inside for halftime and catch up with the Andrew group and post game. So it was a full day for your boy. And by the way, remember going forward, and one of the dates actually does include this guy named Messi. 1:00 Saturday afternoons on the days of the Saturday home matches, the home night matches, the 7:39 kicks. We are at Reverb by Hard Rock. We're there with our pregame show, the countdown to kickoff kind of a thing, with me and Jason and all of you guys. We were in the lobby. Thanks to everybody at Reverb by Hard Rock for being incredibly hospitable for us. But on those nights where we've got the Saturday night home match at 7:30 kick, 1 o'clock at Reverb, you, me, us, all of us talking about stuff. So once again, remember, Reverb by Hard Rock Hotel is our match day preview. And so we get to hang out there, and we'd love to have you be a part of it too, and be a part of the beginning of a long match day at 1 o'clock on Saturdays. Saturday night home games, Reverb by Hard Rock. You, me, us, live, but we want you to be there and be a part of things too. So very, very cool stuff with our friends at the Reverb by Hard Rock. So were you up here, Nix, or missed me this weekend? So hiding in the shade. I don't blame you. I don't blame. And that was another cool thing. I've yet to figure out how. I've yet to figure out how this works. But I saw the internal machinations where folks had like the little spritzer sprinklers inside embedded in the tent flaps. Don't know how that happens, but I thought that was really cool. Once again, technology. Me and technology. I have no earthly idea how this works, but I saw that worked. That was pretty wild. So once again, technology. Yeah. How does Lukaku miss a sitter like that? How does he? Yeah, Megan Thee Stallion blocks Romelu Lukaku after they were holding hands publicly, after they were seen as a couple, after all of that stuff. Romelu Lukaku is no longer being followed by Megan Thee Stallion on Instagram. What is the world coming to? What is the world coming to with this kind of stuff? Ricky realized recently I don't know any Man City fans. Knicks might know one. There aren't that many around here. And I mean, probably just a proximity thing more than anything else. I mean, we all, and a lot of it, has to do with the recency of your fandom. I mean, in catching up with all of you as we do, it's like I know that Nix is a Leicester guy. Come hell or high water, I know Nix is the Leicester guy. Yeah, we know that Alex is Newcastle. We know that Bart is Arsenal. And these are long-standing things. This is not something, they're cool. I think I'll jump on that. No, it's something that with all of them and with all of you guys, it is something that has been laid out right there the entire time. It's been something that has been there with you, and you haven't switched. You've always been that way. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I get wanting to hop on and be a fan of Manchester City. I get it. But I think probably, as we talk about tenure and we talk about being a fan of a club, it might be just because of Manchester City. I mean, the younger fans might tie into that idea of, okay, here's an up and coming Manchester City team. Sheikh Mansour, he's spending a lot of money. By the way, he attended his second soccer match in 15 years. But traditionally, the fans that we end up with, the fans that are tied to clubs, they've been there for a really long time. And Manchester City was not good for a very long time before Sheikh Mansour dropped in and started spending all that money. They haven't been that good. And so the diehards are the ones that are dressed in blue that live in Manchester. I think it's a very, very insular kind of a thing being a fan at Manchester City. I think it is. Only in the last decade or so, you would have the younger generations who were tied to the successes of Manchester City and all of the stuff that we see with them. So now here's my Manchester City question. And I know that a lot of it might be colored with perceptions and spent money and all those kinds of things. How will Manchester City be remembered at the end of this run? How will they be remembered at the end of this run? Will they be remembered for what they did on the field? Will they be remembered for all of the troubles that they're allegedly having to, that they're fighting for allegedly having gone financially off the field? Or can you separate both sides in this? Can you separate both sides? Can you sit there and say, on the one side, man, Pep Guardiola, fantastic manager, Roberto Mancini and the titles and Aguero and all that stuff that started it, Mancini, Pellegrini, Guardiola. Can you separate the on-the-field success from everything that's going on legally off the field? Can you separate the two? Or will, in your mind, one always be tied to the other? You will sit there into this room, whatever the decision is. And I know that those of you who are fans of other clubs in the Premier League will sit there and say, well, you'll point your fingers and you'll sit there and you go, rah, yeah. You will make a point the second that there is some kind of a decision. Serves you right. You get to have everything wiped off the books, all that kind of stuff. Can you separate the two? And I know that those of you who are Premier League fans with other clubs can't wait for the moment that Manchester City is shown guilt in all of the spending and the FFP and everything that is being decided in court. I know that you guys are looking forward to that day. Pep Guardiola is looking forward to that day. He wanted to make sure that everything was it's like, do it now. Get us to court now. All right, so Ricky's like, no, a ton of Manchester United. Well, in Manchester United, Ricky, to your point, to your point, Ricky, about Manchester United had sustained success a lot longer than Manchester City did. So it makes sense for fans internationally. I mean, we know that Manchester City is one of two colors. You're either red or you're blue. Ricky, as you well know, Alabama is one of two colors. You're either, University of Alabama or Auburn. You're either crimson or you're blue and orange. And then there are the other pockets of Troy and UNA and South Alabama and, all of that. But traditionally, you're one of two colors in Manchester. And because of the success, the longer-term success of Manchester United, that's why a lot of folks gravitated to the red of Manchester internationally, because of the star power, because of who they recruited, because of who Sir Alex brought in. That's how it was always going to be. Then, ownership change at Manchester City. They're no longer having to fight for relegation. They hadn't had the star power. They hadn't had the monetary investment. They hadn't had all those things. And then when they get it, that's when their fortune turns around. So it makes sense. It makes sense for folks to have gravitated to Manchester United first. I get that. Rich says he knows a couple of City fans. Now, my question, Rich, for you would be, are they recent, meaning like the last decade, or are they hardcores from past the last decade? I mean, were they Were they wearing blue when Manchester United stank? I mean, when Manchester City stank? Was it then or was it now? Have they been through all of this? Are they relishing and reveling in the successes? Or is it more like, oh, we just got acquainted with the sport, in the last decade. We're hopping in and, we like Manchester City. So which one is it? I would maintain that because Manchester City has been so poor before the introduction of Sheikh Mansour and the money that's been brought in, that the hardcores are there. The older fans are the hardcores, and it's very insular. Manchester United, attractive on a global scale, and they have been for a long time. And Ricky says that his random fandom with Villa started when they won the promotional playoff a couple of years ago to get back to the Premier League. And Ricky wasn't a fan of the EPL before that. So you have American television, I guess, to thank for it. And that's, once again, you come into this marketplace and you end up with, a larger amount of fans. And you open the door to other folks, which would make sense that there would probably be Manchester City fans here in the States that have been added to the stacks because of their success over the last 6-7 years, especially under Pep Guardiola. Ricky was almost a Derby County fan. Wow, that's brave. That's really brave. Because of, okay, so, all right, so Rich, it is both from the last decade and the hardcores. Okay. So, Derby County, Ricky, that definitely would have been one that you could have stuck with, and it would have been a trying time to stick with it because of everything that's going on financially. I know that you mentioned Mel Morris to a Derby County fan. You mentioned Mel Morris and you mentioned Wayne Rooney, and you're going to get two different responses. Mel Morris, it's tiki torches and pitchforks. Wayne Rooney, I think that if you're a Derby County fan, you have absolutely, that you are absolutely sitting there and going, yep. Yeah, Wayne Rooney did amazing things when the team was dealing with all of their financial issues and point deductions and all that kind of stuff. Wayne Rooney is going to be held in such high regard forever for Derby. Yes. Ricky, shout out to the Plus and Villa for not losing. Absolutely. Yeah, but and to enrich, to your point, like a majority, Premier League fans are just tough top six glory hunter fans. Yeah, I mean, that's bandwagon jumping. Yeah, I mean, and that's what you do. It's bandwagon jumping, not a surprise. You want to sit there and you want to go with the trendy, and that's the key. Once it reminds me of the John Wingsnight character on Ted Lasso, where he's a fan. He was a fan of United. Now he's a fan of City, and he had the split scarf, which drove me crazy. Unless it was a Derby scarf, but just the idea that it's like, okay, I was a United fan and now I'm a City fan because City's winning. That's you get that movement going forward too. But no, I think that to Ricky's point about adding the all of the additional coverage that you're seeing from NBC and the other networks, that you're going to get folks who are tied into it for the first time, and then they're going to gravitate to those folks at the top. And it'll be the experience for them will be the next level. The next level of the experience, if a team starts to falter, like a Chelsea or a Liverpool, are the younger Chelsea fans, the newer Chelsea fans, let me rephrase, are the newer Chelsea fans still Chelsea fans after what has happened with the ownership change? And I know, shocking no one, we'll have a lot of gossip, rumor, and innuendo coming up in just a little bit. But you're looking at all of this stuff, and are the new fans of the teams that stank All right, are the new Spurs fans still Spurs fans? Are the new Chelsea fans still Chelsea fans? That to me is the question here. The fans of the last decade, especially here in the States, are they still going to be fans? Have they abandoned them? Have they gone trendy? Like, oh, I was a fan of so and so, but now I'm a fan of Manchester City. Was a fan of Chelsea, but now I'm a Man City fan. Was a fan of Spurs, Levy out. Rah! I'm a fan of Manchester City now. I wonder if that happens here in the States more than anything else. Yeah, and that's the thing, Rich. You became a Manchester United supporter during the glory years of the 2000s. But that's 2 decades ago, and you stuck with it. And I know that everything going on with, after Sir Alex leaves, you end up with manager roulette. Now that things have calmed down with Eric Ten Hag, you just want – I know what you want more than anything is you want the ownership situation settled. And it looks like both Sheikh Jassim and Sir Ratcliffe of Ineos, it looks like they're both going to be getting elevated status. What did Ben Jacobs say this morning? Let me grab that really quickly. CONCACAF Nations League finals coverage beginning Thursday in Vegas. Studio is Abdo, Dempsey, Davies, Edu, Jenny Ruiz. Commentators for Panama and Canada, Adrian Garcia Marquez and Charlie Davies. That's going to be fun. Mexico and USA is Drake Cordero, Moadu. Pitch side is going to be Nico Cantor and Jenny Chu. Christina Uncle will be your rules analyst. So let me get into the Ben Jacobs stuff this morning when he was discussing Manchester United, the last stuff that he was talking about. Oh, apparently also David Moyes is going to remain as West Ham manager after winning Europa Conference League. West Ham co-owner David Sullivan previously told TalkSport it was up to Moyes and that the club wanted him to stay on despite periods during the season where he was almost sacked. So, Ben Jacobs reporting David Moyes is staying at Manchester United. Let's see. West Ham will lose Declan Rice this summer. Arsenal want a deal done fast and for under £100 million. Plans always to move him after the final. Ranieri got Cagliari promoted. We can talk to Nick about that next time he's on because I also know that he wants to talk about Berlusconi's passing and the elements that are attached there. Al Hilal, by the way, is exploring a move for Neymar after missing out on Messi. Club delegation flew to Paris on Friday. Contact on the player side. Nothing yet with PSG. We expect to be very open to a sale. Chelsea's busy working on deals right now. Pochettino is seeking proven Premier League quality. Caicedo, Martinez, Onana, Mount, Kovacic, Conte, and Pulisic, all in the crosshairs. Let's see. Yeah, Ranieri guided Cagliari back to Serie A after the promotion playoff win at Bari. Pavoletti scored at 90+4 for a 2-1 aggregate win. So, okay, here we go. Neither 9-2 Foundation or Ineos will be placed in a period of exclusivity in the next step. At this stage, it's not seen as necessary to conclude the process, which is entering its final weeks. Both groups in deep talks and being ready to win or complete. The reason for this is the process is somewhat transactionally backward, according to Jacobs. Many tasks and talks typically associated with a preferred bidder have been done already by both groups. No need to tell one they are exclusive, and without it, preferred bidder title means little. As things stand, no plans to inform one group their exclusive preferred bidder or even name, certainly not publicly or formally like Chelsea did, a leading suitor. The plan is to have both groups be ready to complete without either being put in exclusivity. Also allows for maximum competitive tension with both waiting to see if they have a green light to sign. This is Jacobs talking. And minority investors such as Carlyle are also doing the same. Important to say, for full context, no sale is an option as well should no green light be given to anyone. Sounds obvious and would be deeply unpopular, but the process can result in three things: full sale, change of control, minority sale, or no sale. Preferred bidder was really an important title in the Chelsea process, also ran by the Rain Group. Due to a race against time and multiple suitors, Jacobs understands currently no plans to formally name an exclusive preferred bidder. For clarity, preferred applies and usually comes with exclusivity, since without it, the door remains open to others, and the title means little. Usually, once a preferred bidder is named, there's certain tasks, whether due diligence or further negotiation, that take place. Instead, many of these aspects have been or are being done now. Multiple groups are being lined up for completion, but Jacob's understanding is they won't be now formally told if they are leading or preferred, because effectively informed they've actually won. 9-2, certainly more positive following their improved fifth offer and self-imposed Friday deadline, but they won't engage further on financials. INEOS sources refer to, quote, positive and ongoing dialogue and are cautiously optimistic. Manchester United fans are frustrated at the lack of clarity, as are the groups, and this is ultimately not to an exclusive period. The Glazers can amazingly undertake almost the entire process without showing their hand. Jacobs, finally, for those asking, preferred bidder tends to come with exclusivity. Without it, any group can continue talks or change the bid in this dynamic again. So it's significant because it shows both groups being fully ready for completion before the Glazers reveal what they want to do. So that's what you're staring at right now with Manchester United. And to Rich's point, I mean, Rich has seen all of this stuff. Rich has been through this crap, and I think probably the first thing that Rich is wanting is for the Glazers to leave. He wouldn't be the only one. Wants the Glazers to leave. And then you figure out, okay, give me an owner that wants to invest, and you go on from there. Ricky definitely considered all of that stuff, and that in Newcastle, and when Miggy went there, thought it would be more interesting to follow a team going up. It was a good decision. And so Ricky is tied to Aston Villa. Me, I like good stories. And so, and that whole idea, you remember when I invested in each level of the pyramid, and then promotion relegation got in the way. So that's what I was staring at. Yeah, really, damn pro rel. And by the way, double relegation. They are now in National League North. Portsmouth is still League One, League Two, going back and forth. Swansea's in the championship. I think that's where they are. They're a championship club. So, and what was my fourth? It was Portsmouth, Swansea. Oh, AFC Wimbledon. AFC Wimbledon, once again, they're a League One, League Two side. And apparently season tickets for our friends at AFC Wimbledon flying off the shelves, which is really good. So, you're staring at all that. What else is on the board this morning? I know that we've got stuff to look into, to the gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and then you've got Copa Libertadores. You've got a lot of. I'm going to get into these Bruce Arena comments. Germany-Ukraine friendly is at noon. Gold TV has the Ecuador Primera A at 8, Emelec and Walaseo. And then they have the Uruguayan Primera at 2 and 5. Torque is playing 2. Liverpool at 5. Argentine Primera is all day on Paramount Plus. Newell's and Union Santa Fe is at 1. Godoy Cruz Racing Club is at 2:30. San Lorenzo Central Cordoba is at 4. Bonfield River Plate is at 6:15. Instituto Racing Club is at 8:45, along with Villa Sarsfield and Argentinos Juniors. The Brasileiro is a double. and America Mineiro and Coritiba and Palmeiras at 5 o'clock. So if you don't have a way to get any of those networks, Paramount Plus you can subscribe to. Gold TV you can pick up at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. With Fanatis, what you can do is get Goal, all the beIN Sports, watch AFCON, championship games yesterday in the CAF. And you've got For the Fans, you've got Goal TV, you've got Teisei, all those different things that you can stare at. And if you go to fntz.co/soccer down here, then it is a couple of quick clicks. You help out the show and you help out yourself as well. And going to other networks that you may not have had the chance to catch up with. All right, Bruce Arena. I want to get into this. Bruce Arena had basically, I think it was a 7-minute rant. A 7-minute rant about Lionel Messi. And here's what Bruce Arena said. He was asked what he thought of Major League Soccer working with Inter Miami to sign Lionel Messi. Who should join in July? Once again, this is from our friends at Soccer America and the article written by Paul Kennedy. So remember, we always talk about Major League Soccer and the 5 DPs and trying to squeeze them into 3 DPs and paying folks under the table and all that kind of stuff. So MLS comes down hard on Inter Miami. Revs coach Bruce Arena is asked what he thinks about the league helping Inter Miami bring Messi under the fold. Quote, I think bringing Lionel Messi into our league is fabulous, and whatever they can do, if they had 3 Ps already, they brought him in, they live with it, it's good for our league. Arena is uniquely positioned to talk about what Messi means, considering that he coached Beckham for parts of 5 years when Beckham played at LAG. He said DC United's salary cap when it launched was $1.1 million with a roster that included 4 players planted by the league. And the top teams are now spending 25 to 30. Salaries are included. Arena won MLS Cup titles with DC in 96-97. 3 with the Galaxy, 11, 12, and 14. Arena continues. Our league has grown considerably. I had Beckham. I came in LA after Beckham had a tough year and a half. David came in 2007. He came in mid-year, and it was a mess. These things aren't easy, and I think that's the other thing that folks are kind of losing in all of this. Right now, Inter Miami is a mess. They are last in the East. Last in the East. Arena says, then I came in LA in July or August of 2008, and we just hung in there for the remainder of the year. We brought in 19 new players the following year, made it to MLS Cup final, and then we obviously got a little bit better and all of that. But it's challenging. It's not going to be easy for Miami, but Miami has a better roster now than I had in LA coming in 2008. So they're going to be fine. Messi's going to win games. If Messi was on the field tonight, would have been a real challenge for us. So it's good for the team. It's good for Miami. It's great for the league. New England has split their 2-game series with Inter Miami, losing in Fort Lauderdale 2-1 on May 13th. Quote, we don't have to play him anymore, so it's good for us, except for the playoffs. I'm hopeful that he has a great impact on the field. He's going to have a great impact off the field. We know that. Arena said Miami isn't breaking any MLS roster rules in signing Messi. They can pay him $1 billion, he said, of a DP signing. It doesn't matter. Arena says Miami could be paying Messi $50, $60, $70 million or more. That's their business, Arena said. I don't know what it is, but the rules are being followed. The league isn't doing anything special for Miami. What's special is that Beckham was able to attract Messi to his club, and they worked on him for a couple of years. And I think although he turns 36 this month, he's going to have a tremendous impact for that team and that city and the league, and that has to be good. Reporter asked Arena about Messi playing on artificial turf. New England, Charlotte, Atlanta, 3 teams in the East that play on turf. Charlotte and Atlanta host Inter Miami after Messi's arrival. September 16th. Remember, Reverb, September 16th. Quote, they're going to have 80,000 people at the game. Close, more like 73 or 4. Arena said of Inter Miami's game with Atlanta United Mercedes-Benz. Is that bad for the league? That story is a good story. Messi's a good story. Why would you think otherwise? So Bruce Arena, in his 5-minute conversation, making sure that we're reminded that this Messi thing is a good deal and that Inter Miami isn't breaking any rules. Because think about it. If you're Inter Miami, after what happened with your previous administration, why would you, again, break the rules again? Philadelphia Union 2 are going to play Wrexham in a friendly at Subaru Park on July 28th, by the way. Why would you, if you're Inter Miami, sit there and go, we got caught for breaking the rules. Let's go ahead and do it again. What are they, SMU? You can't give them the death penalty, but you sure as hell can try to do it financially and personnel-wise. Why would I, if I am Inter Miami, why would I break the rules again? Why would I do that? Why? Legitimately, why would I do it? Especially if I'm bringing in a high-priced talent like Lionel Messi. Why would I break the rules again, being busted and being penalized as much as I was? Why would I? That would be dumb if Inter Miami got busted again in short order. So you end up with a situation where, and we've called it what I think it is, it's an NIL deal. It is a name, image, and likeness deal. You've had to go outside the box. Partnering with Apple, partnering with Adidas, give them a piece of the action. Give them part of the ownership group or an ownership group. If it's Inter Miami or if it's Inter Messi FC, wherever at some point. Give him that opportunity. You got to give Inter Miami credit for thinking outside the box on this one. We already mentioned this morning, it's not going to be, they're not done yet, but they're close. So we'll see what happens. But yes, it's good for the league. Absolutely it is. But it would be stupid for Inter Miami to once again break the rules after getting busted for breaking the rules. So they had to come up with a different way to do it. So sure enough, they found a different way to do it so far. Once again, not officially official, but close. And you can get your $130 to $150 Lionel Messi Adidas jersey. And don't think those aren't flying off the shelves either. That's why you get a piece of the action. Could you imagine all of the pink and black XBTQ Inter Miami jerseys presented by our friends at Adidas? And you'd be getting a piece of the action for that. Mm-hmm. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And since we're getting close to that particular time of year where everything is going to be flying off the shelves, everything. And we'll finish up with a little bit of talk about Silvio Berlusconi as well, who passed away at the age of 86. All right. Representatives of Al Hilal are in Paris to secure Neymar. Chelsea ready to offer Lukaku and Kalidou Koulibaly to Inter Milan in a bid to land Andre Onana. It's from the three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. But Onana said after the Champions League final he wants to stay at the Italian club. There's a release clause that may not be up to Onana. Newcastle are leading Spurs in the race to sign James Maddison, £40 million rating at Leicester. Maddison is the only Leicester player Newcastle have interest in, which means they will not be moving for Harvey Barnes, but they do want Manchester United's Scott McTominay. That's from the three-letter paper. Once again, take the information at your own peril. That Manchester United will only accept a permanent deal from Newcastle for Maguire, but they would consider loaning him to Villa. Ricky, there you go. But that's a three-letter paper. Spurs close to agreeing to personal terms for David Raya from Brentford. It's also been targeted by Manchester United. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United ready to make a £30 million bid on Jordan Pickford, regardless of whether or not he leaves. Be an interesting goalkeeper controversy. Once again, three-letter paper. Al Hilal wants Jose Mourinho to become their new manager, but Al Ahly want to meet with him as well. Of course they do. Crystal Palace's Wilf Zaha is in talks with PSG over a free once his contract expires in the summer. Liverpool set to move for James Ward-Prowse after appearing to lose out on Mason Mount, who's set to join Manchester United. Manchester United have made contact with Mount, keen on a move to Old Trafford, but Chelsea want €80 million or £68.4 million for the 24-year-old. That's also from Fabrizio Romano. Eintracht Frankfurt's Randall Colomwani among 6 strikers Manchester United have on a short list. But the France international wants guarantees he'll be in Erik ten Hag's starting lineup. Good luck on that. Or we could practice. You're not in the starting lineup. You're going to be mad all over again? I'm sure. Liverpool already in preliminary talks with Nice midfielder Kefren Turam and his fellow Frenchman Manu Kone over at Borussia Mönchengladbach. A move to Arsenal for Declan Rice has been a done deal for a while, according to Ron in Germany. Now, here's another one for you. Former Rangers and Aston Villa manager Steven Gerrard is considering an offer to become coach of Al-Ettifaq in the Saudi Pro League, who are keen to land the Liverpool captain. That's from Reuters. Been talks with Leicester over Timothy Castagna. Spurs transfer target Roger Ibanez leaving Roma, with the Serie A side keen to complete a sale quickly for the Brazil defender. That's from La Gazzetta dello Sport. Former Wolves defender Roman Saiz wants to return to the Premier League after he left for Besiktas last summer. Burnley have offered €15 million or £12.8 million for Anderlecht's keeper Bart Verbruggen. Atletico Madrid fullback Renan Lodi is unlikely to return to Nottingham Forest following his loan spell last season, with the player preferring a move to a Champions League club. Maybe there was a reason that he was loaned to Nottingham Forest. Manchester City also set to hand German goalkeeper Stefan Ortega a new deal worth £85 million a week to ward off interest from Bayern. That's the three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. So that's your gossip, rumor, and your innuendo this morning. Yes, Ricky, if you can get online to do it. We'll wrap up with this. Ricky says, if he's going to buy a Wrexham shirt from them, do I need to go up a size? I'd probably say 2. 2 to be safe, with shrinking as well. So go up 2 sizes, and if you can get them, get them. Not sure if UK shirts have the same sizing principles as other Euro teams. Go up 2 sizes. That should cover you. So, and like I said, and this is me and my laundry skills involved with shrinkage as well. So, 1, if you want to wash in delicates and colds the whole time. 2, if you want to sit there and go, okay, I want to protect myself so I don't have to go and drop another, $90 on a jersey. So 2 to be safe because of laundry. You never know how your laundry equipment is going to act. 1 if you're confident. I always go 2. And traditionally, what I will also do is I will buy the 4 and 5 XLs. And if it's a little long on me, it means I've still got it in my closet. So that's all that matters. That's a show. Thanks for wandering over to YouTube this time to watch it live. Yes, Wrexham and Union 2, July. If you're going, let me know. Because if the game day scarf is there, I will have a request. So let me know if you're going, Rich, and we'll figure it out from there. Once again, tomorrow, drive time show, like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. We'll have taped content in the morning, taped content throughout the day, catching up with our high school friends. Show Tuesday, normal Wednesday, normal Thursday, and it is on 8 a.m. on Friday, and we go 8 to 10 because they kick us out of the house. So thanks for following along. We'll be back on Twitch tomorrow morning. And since it is the end of the show, it means I get to do this, and we'll be back at it noon. And so we're up here in Blue Ridge all week, and we will be doing the show from here. So catch up with you later. Mucho plati y'all. Play it safe, and we'll catch up with you again a little later on. Be good.